The Zephyrian War Council chamber buzzed with tension as Admiral Kextar reviewed the mission parameters one final time. 12 of the Empire's most elite commanders sat around the obsidian table, their scaled faces reflecting the holographic display that showed a single human vessel disappearing into the Void Nebula. Target designation: Marcus Chun, former Terran intelligence operative, Kextar announced, his voice carrying the authority of countless victories. Last known position: Grid 779, approximately 18 standard hours ago. Commander Velaxis, the youngest of the 12, and eager to prove himself, leaned forward. Sir, with respect, why do we need 12 battle groups for one human? Their ships are primitive compared to ours. The other commanders exchanged glances. Most had never faced humans in direct combat, only heard the stories whispered in the fleet corridors. Stories that High Command dismissed as propaganda and fear-mongering. Admiral Kextar's expression darkened. That one human just stole the quantum encryption codes for our entire communication network. Every military frequency, every tactical channel, every command protocol. If those codes reach Earth, our upcoming invasion becomes impossible. The hologram shifted to show Chen's vessel, a modified Terran corvette called the Persistence. It looked like scrap metal welded together by amateurs compared to their sleek Zephyrian destroyers. The ship appears to be damaged, noted Commander Thexmore, studying the energy readings. Engine efficiency at 60%, weapons systems offline. It should be a simple retrieval operation. Simple, Kextar repeated, his tone suggesting otherwise. Chen has been operating behind our lines for 3 years. In that time, he's evaded capture 47 times, destroyed 6 of our facilities, and somehow acquired information that took our best analysts 2 decades to compile. Commander Velaxis scoffed. Human luck won't save him in the Void Nebula. The electromagnetic storms will disable his primitive electronics long before we lose ours. The other commanders nodded in agreement. Their ships were equipped with advanced shielding and redundant systems. The Void Nebula, with its chaotic electromagnetic fields and spatial anomalies, was deadly to most civilizations, but manageable for Zephyrian technology. Your orders are simple, Kextar continued. Form a containment grid around the nebula. Chen cannot be allowed to escape. Capture him alive if possible. We need to know how he penetrated our security. But, if necessary, destroy the ship and recover the data cores from the wreckage. The 12 commanders stood in unison, their ceremonial armor gleaming under the chamber's harsh lights. Each commanded a battle group consisting of 1 heavy cruiser, 3 destroyers, and a dozen fighters. It was enough firepower to level a small moon. Within hours, the fleet had assembled at the nebula's edge. The Void Nebula stretched before them like a wound in space itself, its swirling clouds of ionized gas creating beautiful but deadly aurora patterns. Long-range sensors were useless inside. They would have to hunt by sight and intuition. Commander Velaxis took point with his battle group, eager to claim the glory of capturing the infamous human spy. His heavy cruiser, the Talon of Supremacy, pushed into the nebula's outer layers, followed by the other battle groups in a carefully coordinated search pattern. The first indication something was wrong came 6 hours later. Contact lost with Battle Group 7, reported Communications Officer Zarek aboard the flagship. Last transmission was a proximity alert. Admiral Kextar frowned. Commander Hixera had been leading Battle Group 7, a veteran officer with 15 years of service. Electromagnetic interference? Possible, sir, but the signal cut off mid-sentence. Before Kextar could respond, another alert chimed. Contact lost with Battle Group 3. Commander, NALX Group. The Admiral's blood ran cold. 2 battle groups didn't just disappear, even in the Void Nebula. All remaining groups switched to tight beam communications. Report status immediately. The responses came back sporadically, distorted by the nebula's interference. 10 battle groups still operational, sweeping their assigned sectors. No sign of the human vessel or the missing groups. Then, Commander Velaxis's voice crackled through the static. Movement detected in Sector 447. Appears to be debris field. Moving to investigate. That was the last transmission they received from Battle Group 1. Admiral Kextar paced the bridge, his tactical mind racing. 3 battle groups lost without a trace. Whatever was happening in that nebula, it wasn't natural electromagnetic interference. "Sir," called sensor operator Yeleni, "I'm detecting faint energy signatures from inside the nebula. Very brief, like weapon discharges, but the pattern is unlike anything in our database." "Human weapons?" "Unknown, sir. The signatures are too fragmented to analyze properly." Hours passed. One by one, the remaining battle groups went silent. Commander Thexmore's group vanished while investigating an unusual asteroid formation. Battle Group 9 disappeared after reporting strange gravitational readings. Each loss followed the same pattern, a routine report, then sudden silence. By the end of the first day, only 4 battle groups remained operational. The survivors formed a defensive perimeter at the nebula's edge, unwilling to venture deeper after witnessing their comrades vanish into the cosmic storm. Commander Jektos, the most senior officer after several losses, opened a channel to the flagship. "Admiral, we should retreat and request reinforcements. Something in there is picking us off systematically." Admiral Kextar studied the tactical display, his pride warring with tactical sense. The Zephyrian Empire had never retreated from a single human before. "Negative, Commander. That data cannot reach Earth. All remaining groups, prepare for coordinated assault. We go in together." The 4 surviving battle groups arranged themselves in a tight formation and plunged into the nebula's heart. Their combined shields created a protective bubble against the electromagnetic storms, while overlapping sensor nets provided maximum coverage. For 2 hours, they encountered nothing but swirling gas and debris. Then, sensor operator Yeleni detected something that made her scales pale. "Admiral, I'm reading massive energy buildup, bearing 270. Whatever it is, it's big." The energy signature resolved into a structure that defied explanation. Floating in the nebula's eye was what appeared to be a massive ring, easily 5 kilometers in diameter, constructed from salvaged ship parts. Zephyrian hull plating formed the outer rim, while the inner sections contained technology from a dozen different species. "Is that?" Admiral Kextar began. "The missing battle groups," Commander Jektes finished grimly. "He's been cannibalizing our ships." At the structure's center sat the Persistence, no longer the battered corvette they had been tracking. Chen had somehow integrated Zephyrian shield generators, weapons systems, and power cores into his vessel. What had been a simple courier ship was now a hybrid war machine powered by the combined technology of 8 battle groups. "All ships, target that structure," Kextar ordered. Maximum firepower. The 4 remaining battle groups opened fire simultaneously, their combined weapons creating a light show visible across several star systems. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and quantum torpedoes converged on the strange ring structure. The attacks never reached their target. The ring began to rotate, and sections of salvaged hull plating repositioned themselves to intercept incoming fire. But these weren't passive deflectors. Each piece of debris had been weaponized. Zephyrian plasma cannons, still powered by their original reactors, returned fire with deadly precision. The irony wasn't lost on Admiral Kextar as his own weapons technology tore through his ship's hulls. Battle Group 12 lasted less than 10 minutes. Commander Rayanake's flagship erupted in a cascade of secondary explosions as its own plasma cannon design was turned against it. The surviving destroyers scattered, only to be hunted down by swarms of fighters that Chun had apparently reconstructed from salvaged parts. Battle Groups 5 and 11 fared no better. The ring structure seemed to anticipate their every move, rotating to bring fresh weapons to bear while damaged sections retreated for repairs. It was like fighting a living thing that learned from each exchange. Commander Jektos found himself alone on the flagship bridge as his battle group disintegrated around him. "Admiral, we have to retreat. This isn't a ship anymore. It's a fortress." But Admiral Kextar was beyond reason. His pride, his reputation, his entire worldview was crumbling as he watched a single human defeat the Empire's finest commanders using their own technology. All remaining ships, ramming speed. "We'll take that human with us." The final 3 ships of the once mighty fleet accelerated toward the ring structure, their crews shouting battle cries that would never be heard again. The ring rotated one last time, bringing a massive weapon to bear, a fusion cannon built from the combined power cores of 6 heavy cruisers. The blast vaporized all 3 ships instantly. In the sudden silence that followed, Admiral Kextar floated in his command pod's emergency atmosphere, the only survivor of a fleet that had numbered over 300 vessels just days before. The ring structure dominated his view, a monument to human ingenuity and Zephyrian hubris. A communication channel crackled to life, clear and strong despite the nebula's interference. The voice that spoke was unmistakably human, calm, and professional. "Admiral Kextar, this is Marcus Chun. I believe you've been looking for me." Admiral Kextar's survival pod drifted helplessly toward the massive ring structure, its emergency beacon the only light in the nebula's chaotic darkness. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, he watched as sections of the ring rearranged themselves, forming a docking bay large enough to accommodate his pod. The human's voice continued through the communication system, eerily calm despite having just obliterated an entire fleet. "I'm bringing you aboard, Admiral. We have things to discuss." Kextar's pod was drawn into the structure by what appeared to be a modified tractor beam array, another piece of Zephyrian technology repurposed with human innovation. The docking bay sealed behind him, and atmospheric processors began flooding the chamber with breathable air. When the pod's hatch opened, Kextar stepped out to face his captor for the first time. Marcus Chin looked nothing like the monster the Zephyrian propaganda had described. Average height by human standards, graying hair, wearing a simple maintenance jumpsuit stained with various fluids. He could have been a mechanic or a janitor rather than the spy who had just destroyed 12 battle groups. "Admiral," Chin said, offering a respectful nod. "Thank you for accepting my invitation." "I didn't have much choice," Kextar replied, his translator rendering the human's words into perfect Zephyrian. "Your fortress is impressive. Where did you learn our engineering principles?" Chin smiled, an expression that Kextar found unsettling on the alien features. "Your people are excellent teachers, even when they don't intend to be. Every ship you sent after me over the past 3 years provided new lessons. Every weapons system, every shield generator, every piece of technology, all of it contributed to this." They walked through corridors lined with a bewildering mixture of technologies. Zephyrian power conduits ran alongside human computing systems. Kethriki life support units were integrated with Altarian gravity generators. It was a technological nightmare that somehow functioned perfectly. "This is impossible," Kextar muttered, studying a control panel that seamlessly blended interfaces from 6 different species. "The power requirements alone should have caused cascade failures days ago." "That's the thing about humans," Chin explained, leading him to what appeared to be a command center. "We're very good at making impossible things work. Your engineers design systems to function within specific parameters. When those parameters change, the systems fail. Human engineering is more adaptive." The command center was a marvel of improvised technology. Dozens of screens displayed information from across the ring structure, each one showing different systems operating at peak efficiency. What caught Kextar's attention, however, was the holographic display in the room's center. It showed the Void Nebula in real time, including several Zephyrian fleets gathering at its edges. "Your empire isn't giving up," Chin observed, manipulating the display to show troop movements. 3 more battle fleets are en route. Admiral Vexkara commands the northern approach, Admiral Zulmas the southern. They'll be here within 48 hours. Kextar studied the display with growing dread. Each fleet contained twice the firepower of his original force. You can't possibly defeat them all. Even with this structure, you're still just one human. One human with access to your entire military database, Chin corrected. Your quantum encryption codes weren't the only thing I acquired during my time behind your lines. I have fleet compositions, tactical doctrines, command protocols, even personal psychological profiles of your admirals. Chun activated another screen, showing detailed files on dozens of Zephyrian officers. Admiral Vexkara's profile included notes about her aggressive tendencies and preference for direct assault. Admiral Zulmas was marked as methodical and cautious, prone to overthinking situations. "How?" Kextar demanded. "Our security systems are the most advanced in the galaxy." "Are they?" Chen asked, pulling up another display. "Your computer networks are incredibly sophisticated, but they're all connected. Every ship, every station, every command post, all linked through your quantum communication grid. Very efficient for coordinating a galactic empire." The display showed a network map of Zephyrian space, thousands of connections linking every military installation. A small indicator showed where Chun had initially penetrated the system, a supply depot on the Empire's frontier. 3 years ago, I slipped a simple data packet into that depot's routine communications. Nothing sophisticated, just a tiny program designed to copy and forward certain types of information. Your own network spread it everywhere, thinking it was routine data traffic. Kekstar's scales turned pale as he realized the implications. You've been inside our systems for 3 years. Every operation, every plan, Chun confirmed. Including your invasion of Earth, scheduled to begin in 6 months. Fleet compositions, attack routes, target priorities, I know it all. The human brought up another display, showing the Zephyrian invasion plan in detail. 40 battle fleets would strike Earth and its colonies simultaneously, overwhelming human defenses through sheer numbers. It was a sound strategy that should have guaranteed victory. Your people are walking into a trap, Chun continued. Earth knows you're coming. They've had 3 years to prepare. Kekstar sank into a nearby chair, the weight of defeat crushing his spirit. Why are you telling me this? Why not just kill me and be done with it? Chen's expression grew serious. Because this war doesn't have to happen, Admiral. Your empire wants our territory and resources, but you don't understand what you're really trying to conquer. Another display activated, showing images from Earth and its colonies. Cities that stretched across continents, orbital stations that dwarfed Zephyrian installations, industrial complexes that could build entire fleets in months rather than years. You see primitive technology and assume weakness, Chen explained. But human primitive technology has one advantage your advanced systems lack. It's robust. When your quantum computers are disrupted by electromagnetic interference, they stop working. When our simple electronics are damaged, we fix them with spare parts and ingenuity. The display showed human ships, ugly, blocky vessels that looked like flying scrapyards compared to sleek Zephyrian designs. But Kekstar could see the underlying truth now. Those ships were built to be repaired, modified, adapted. They didn't need perfect conditions to function. Your invasion fleets will win the initial battles, Chun continued. Your technology is superior, your tactics are sound. But then what? You'll occupy our worlds with garrison fleets that need constant resupply, constant maintenance, perfect conditions to operate. Images showed the aftermath of previous Zephyrian conquests. Occupied worlds where rebellions were quickly crushed by overwhelming technological superiority. But those worlds had never faced humans before. Humans don't surrender, Admiral. We adapt. Every weapon you use against us becomes a lesson in how to build something better. Every ship you lose becomes salvage for our engineers. Every battle you win teaches us how to fight the next one more effectively. Chen manipulated the display to show projections of the invasion's aftermath. Initial Zephyrian victories followed by increasing human resistance. Supply lines stretched thin across hostile space. Garrison fleets slowly worn down by constant attacks from improvised human weapons. Within 5 years, your empire will be fighting a war it can't win against an enemy it can't understand, Chen predicted. Your advanced technology will become a liability when humans start turning it against you. Your vast fleets will be anchors dragging your economy into collapse. The projections were sobering. Even with complete technological superiority, the Zephyrian Empire would slowly bleed itself to death, trying to hold human space. The mathematics were undeniable. No empire could sustain that kind of prolonged conflict. So what do you propose? Kekstar asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. A trade agreement, Chen replied simply. Your empire has resources and technology we need. Humanity has innovation and adaptability you could use. Why destroy each other when we could profit together? A new display showed potential trade routes between human and Zephyrian space. Raw materials from Zephyrian worlds in exchange for human manufacturing techniques. Technological sharing that could benefit both civilizations. Your leaders won't listen to that, Kekstar protested. The Empire has never negotiated with inferior species. Chen smiled again, but this time there was no humor in the expression. Then, I'll have to provide a more convincing argument. The command center's main display shifted to show the approaching Zephyrian fleets. Admiral Vexcara's force had just entered the nebula's outer edge, her ships arranged in the standard assault formation. She was following doctrine exactly as her psychological profile predicted. "Watch carefully, Admiral," Chen said, his fingers dancing across a control interface built from salvaged Zephyrian components. "I'm about to demonstrate why your empire needs to reconsider its position." The ring structure began to move. Sections that had appeared to be static defense platforms detached from the main structure, revealing themselves to be independent vessels. Each ship was a unique hybrid of technologies, combining the best elements of every species Chun had encountered. They moved with precision that defied their cobbled-together appearance. Admiral Vexcara's fleet detected the approaching vessels and immediately opened fire. Plasma cannons and particle beams lit up the nebula as the Zephyrian formation engaged what they assumed were human reinforcements. The hybrid ships didn't attempt to dodge or defend. Instead, they absorbed the incoming fire, their shields flaring but holding. Salvaged Zephyrian shield generators had been modified with human engineering principles, creating defensive systems more robust than their original designs. "Impossible," Kextar breathed. "Those shields shouldn't be able to withstand concentrated fire from an entire battle fleet. Your shield generators are designed to fail when overloaded," Chen explained without taking his eyes off the tactical display. "It's a safety feature to prevent cascade explosions. I removed those limitations and added redundant power systems. Less safe, but much more effective." The hybrid ships reached optimal firing range and opened fire with weapons that made Kextar's blood freeze. Each vessel mounted cannons built from multiple Zephyrian weapons fused together, creating devastating firepower that no single ship should be able to generate. Admiral Vexcara's flagship vanished in the first volley, its shields overwhelmed by weapons that had been designed by her own people. The remaining ships scattered, their formation broken by an attack that defied everything they knew about human capabilities. Admiral Vexcara was always impatient, Chen observed as the battle unfolded. She's trying to regain formation, but her ships are moving independently now. Fear makes people predictable. The hybrid vessels pressed their advantage, hunting the scattered Zephyrian ships through the nebula's chaotic environment. Each kill was quick and efficient, leaving minimal debris that could be salvaged later. Within 2 hours, Admiral Vexcara's entire fleet had been destroyed. Chen turned to Admiral Kextar, who sat in stunned silence watching the tactical display. "Admiral Zulmas will be more cautious. His psychological profile suggests he'll try to withdraw after seeing what happened to Vexcara's force. That gives us approximately 18 hours before he regroups and tries a different approach." "Us?" Kextar asked. "I'm hoping you'll help me convince your empire that continued hostilities are inadvisable," Chen explained. "You've seen what human ingenuity can accomplish with limited resources. Imagine what we could achieve with access to Zephyrian technology and manufacturing capabilities." Kextar stared at the display showing the positions of his empire's remaining fleets. Dozens of battle groups, thousands of ships, millions of personnel, all committed to a war that would destroy both civilizations. "My people will never believe that humans could be this dangerous," he said finally. "Your reputation as a primitive species is too deeply ingrained." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Then, I'll have to provide more evidence. Admiral Zulmas will serve nicely for that purpose." The human began entering commands into his hybrid control systems, and the ring structure started reconfiguring itself once again. New weapons emerged from hidden compartments, while the surviving hybrid vessels returned to dock and undergo rapid modifications. "What are you planning?" Kextar asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Something that will ensure the Zephyrian Empire understands exactly what kind of species they're dealing with," Chen replied, his tone carrying an ominous certainty that made Kextar's scales crawl. Outside the command center, in the depths of space, Admiral Zulmas's fleet began its careful approach to the Void Nebula, unaware that they were flying into a demonstration that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Admiral Zulmas studied the tactical reports from Admiral Vexcara's destroyed fleet with growing unease. 43 ships lost in less than 3 hours, with minimal debris recovered. The enemy vessels responsible had vanished back into the nebula's electromagnetic chaos, leaving no trace of their technology or capabilities. "Analysis?" he demanded from his tactical officer. "Inconclusive, sir," Commander Pekran replied, his voice tight with frustration. The few sensor readings we obtained suggest impossible power outputs. Either our instruments malfunctioned, or the enemy possesses technology we don't understand. Admiral Zolmas was known throughout the Zephyrian fleet for his methodical approach to warfare. Unlike the recently deceased Admiral Vexcara, he preferred to gather intelligence before committing his forces. The destruction of 2 entire battle fleets demanded careful analysis. Deploy long-range reconnaissance drones, he ordered. Full spectrum analysis of the nebula. I want to know what's in there before we advance. 24 hours later, the reconnaissance data painted a picture that challenged everything the Zephyrian military thought they knew about human capabilities. The ring structure was clearly visible now, its massive form dominating the nebula's heart. But what concerned Admiral Zolmas was the activity surrounding it. The structure was growing. Salvaged debris from the destroyed fleets was being incorporated into new sections, while manufacturing bays worked continuously to produce additional vessels. The humans weren't just defending themselves, they were expanding their capabilities with every battle. Sir, Communications Officer Telek announced, we're receiving a transmission from the structure. It's Admiral Kextar. The main display flickered to life, showing Admiral Kextar standing in what appeared to be a human command center. Behind him, Admiral Zolmas could see displays showing the positions of every Zephyrian ship in the system. Admiral Zolmas, Kextar began, his voice carrying a weariness that spoke of profound defeat. I'm calling to request immediate withdrawal of all Zephyrian forces from this system. Admiral, Zolmas replied carefully. Your situation appears to be compromised. Are you speaking under duress? I'm speaking as the sole survivor of 12 battle groups, Kextar said bluntly. And I'm trying to prevent you from joining them in death. A new voice joined the conversation. Human, speaking perfect Zephyrian. Admiral Zolmas, this is Marcus Chun. I believe we need to have a conversation about the future of human-Zephyrian relations. Admiral Zolmas felt his blood chill. The human spy who had started this entire crisis was talking to him as casually as if they were old friends. What do you want, human? To end this war before it destroys both our civilizations, Chun replied. Your empire has committed nearly half its total fleet strength to capture one human and recover stolen data. In the process, you've lost over 400 ships and their crews. At what point does the cost outweigh the objective? The tactical display in front of Admiral Zolmas showed the sobering mathematics. His current force represented the largest single fleet the Empire had ever assembled, 60 battle groups with over 800 ships. But they were facing an unknown enemy with technology that defied analysis. The Zephyrian Empire does not negotiate with inferior species, Admiral Zolmas stated, though his voice lacked conviction. Chin's laughter echoed through the communication channel. Admiral, with respect, your definition of inferior might need revision. Would you like a demonstration? Before Admiral Zolmas could respond, his sensors detected massive energy buildups from within the nebula. The ring structure was powering weapons that registered power levels equal to a stellar phenomenon. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Admiral Zolmas ordered. But it was already too late. The weapon that emerged from the nebula wasn't a projectile or energy beam. It was a controlled gravitational wave that swept through space at the speed of light. Admiral Zolmas watched in horror as the wave passed through his fleet, and every ship's artificial gravity system began fluctuating wildly. The gravitational weapon didn't destroy the ships directly. Instead, it destabilized their internal gravity generators, causing the vessels to tear themselves apart from the inside. Crew members were crushed against bulkheads as artificial gravity spiked to dangerous levels, then flung helplessly into walls when it cut out entirely. Within minutes, half of Admiral Zolmas's fleet was spinning helplessly through space, their crews dead or dying from gravitational trauma. The remaining ships frantically tried to stabilize their systems while maintaining formation. Impressive, Admiral Zolmas admitted grudgingly. But you've only disabled half my fleet. The rest can still fight. Can they? Chen asked. The remaining ships suddenly found themselves under attack by an enemy they couldn't see or target. Small objects, each no larger than a fighter craft, swarmed through the fleet at impossible speeds. They moved like living things, dodging defensive fire while attaching themselves to ship hulls. Parasitic drones, Admiral Zolmas realized. But how are they moving so fast? His question was answered when the first drone breached a ship's hull. Through security cameras, he watched as the device unfolded into a sophisticated manufacturing unit that immediately began converting the ship's own materials into additional drones. Within hours, infected vessels became factories producing enemies from their own substance. The psychological impact was devastating. Zephyrian crews found themselves fighting their own ships as the drones took control of internal systems. Some vessels self-destructed rather than face conversion, while others simply went dark as their crews abandoned ship. This is biological warfare, Admiral Zolmas protested. Prohibited by galactic conventions. Nothing biological about it, Chen corrected. Pure nanotechnology, built from salvaged Zephyrian computer components. Your own manufacturing protocols, adapted for rapid replication. Every ship you lose provides materials for more drones. Admiral Zolmas watched his proud fleet disintegrating before his eyes. The few remaining vessels were fighting a losing battle against an enemy that grew stronger with every casualty. His tactical displays showed infection spreading through ship after ship as the drones replicated faster than they could be destroyed. "What do you want?" he finally asked. "A message delivered to your empire's leadership," Chen replied. "This demonstration represents a tiny fraction of human capability. We've had 3 years to prepare for your invasion, and we've used that time well." The main display shifted to show images from across human space. Shipyards that had been expanded far beyond their original capacity. Weapons testing facilities where human engineers worked alongside captured Zephyrian technology. Most disturbing of all, production lines churning out hybrid vessels that combined the best of both civilizations. Your invasion force will face ships built with Zephyrian technology, but designed with human principles, Chen explained. Vessels that can repair themselves in battle, weapons that adapt to enemy tactics, shields that grow stronger under fire. Every advantage your empire possesses has been studied, copied, and improved upon. Admiral Zolmas studied the images with growing dread. Human shipyards were producing vessels at rates that seemed impossible, while their modification facilities were creating weapons that shouldn't exist. The technological gap between the species was disappearing rapidly. Humanity offers your empire a choice, Chen continued. Trade partnership or mutual destruction. We have resources you need, and you have knowledge we can use. Together, both civilizations could achieve greatness. Apart, we'll destroy each other. And if the empire chooses war, Chen's expression hardened. Then, we'll demonstrate that humans are very, very good at war. Your people will learn what it means to fight a species that views every setback as a learning opportunity. The transmission shifted to show Admiral Kextar again. Zolmas, I've seen what human ingenuity can accomplish with limited resources. They turned our own technology against us more effectively than we ever used it ourselves. This isn't about superior firepower, it's about adaptability. Admiral Zolmas looked around his bridge, where his surviving crew members watched their fleet's destruction with barely controlled panic. His proud vessels were being converted into enemies faster than he could comprehend, while his opponent calmly explained why continued resistance was futile. "If I agree to deliver your message," he said slowly, "what guarantee do I have that you'll allow my people to leave?" "You have my word," Chen replied simply. "And something more tangible." The gravitational weapon powered down, while the parasitic drones suddenly stopped their attack and began withdrawing from infected ships. Throughout Admiral Zolmas's fleet, Zephyrian crews found themselves back in control of their vessels, though many ships remained too damaged to fight effectively. "I'm returning your operational vessels and crews," Chen explained. "Consider it a gesture of good faith. Your empire needs to understand that humanity seeks cooperation, not conquest." Admiral Zolmas made a decision that would reshape galactic politics for generations. "I'll deliver your message, human. But I make no promises about how it will be received. That's all I ask," Chen replied. "Oh, and Admiral, you might want to mention that this entire conversation has been broadcast live to every Zephyrian ship in the galaxy. Your military leadership is already aware of what happened here." The blood drained from Admiral Zolmas's face. If the Empire's citizens learned that their mighty fleet had been defeated by a single human using their own technology, the political consequences would be catastrophic. "Why?" he demanded. "Because secrets breed wars," Chen explained. Your people deserve to know the truth about human capabilities before they commit to a conflict that will destroy both civilizations. Let them decide if conquest is worth the price. 3 months later, representatives from the Zephyrian Empire arrived at a neutral space station to begin trade negotiations with humanity. Admiral Kextar served as a military advisor, while Marcus Chen acted as humanity's chief negotiator. The invasion fleets that had been massing at the Empire's borders were quietly reassigned to patrol duties, their crews relieved to avoid what they had come to call the human problem. Throughout Zephyrian space, military commanders studied the battle reports from the Void Nebula, trying to understand how their supposedly superior technology had been turned against them so effectively. In the end, the search for Marcus Chun had cost the Zephyrian Empire far more than 12 commanders. It had cost them their certainty, their sense of superiority, and their belief that advanced technology automatically meant victory. But it had also given them something valuable in return, a partner species that could teach them the most important lesson in the galaxy. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who refuses to accept defeat, who learns from every failure, and who turns setbacks into stepping stones toward victory. Humanity had earned their place among the stars not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through the simple refusal to give up. And the galaxy would never be the same.